How about close your eyes and just take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. What a nice full day, huh? So take another breath in and think about integrating everything. Everything that's come in today. How about one more breath? Find your body just gently resting on the chair, feet resting on the floor. And if you'd like, you turn your palms up and just let the energy in the room touch your palms. You might feel a little vibration there, feel a little opening. And let your spine just lengthen. See the vertebrae stacked up, one on top of the other. From your tailbone all the way up to the crown of your head. And feel the connection that is there. And take another breath. And just allow the softness that's inside to make its way to the edges of your body. Just be in a place of openness. And as you go there, notice the feeling around your heart and the expansion that's there. And from that place, feel the love in the room. Feel the connection with the family that's here today with you. Your real family. No one is here by chance. It's the love that has drawn you here today. The entourage, the Kryon energy, the love in this community, the light in this sanctuary. And as we prepare ourselves for the Kryon message, let that love continue to open your heart and your understanding. For that is who you truly are.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Again, there are those who would say that the transformation is too quick. That who is my partner, who is the human being who now literally stands at my side watching, would not be able to accomplish this kind of a shift this quickly. What you are seeing is the new energy at work. You have to expect that some things change. There would be those, especially those who have been in what you would call metaphysics, nicknamed the New Age, for many, many years, the thought that God never changes. And therefore, the processes of God never change. And therefore, the things they are seeing today are somewhat inappropriate, for they do not have a confluence of energy of the old ways. So let me address that first. And what we say is this: God is never, ever going to change. The same yesterday, today, and forever. The benevolent creator of the universe, family member, one who sings the song of love in your heart will never shift, will never stop, will never change. Stable in all ways. What has shifted is your relationship. As you change, as your DNA shifts, as your consciousness awakens, that which you do with spirit shifts with it. There are those understanding that what took 3 hours of meditation in the past can be accomplished immediately now. God did not change, you did. And with this change of you, commensurate is Gaia. Gaia changes, you change. You are intertwined. We've said it before. If the human being walks upon the planet, they affect the crystalline grid. The crystalline grid is not something that is physical in 3 dimension. It is an Akashic grid. That is to say, it remembers every footstep, every situation, every light worker, every match bearer. Collectively, this Akashic grid speaks to the cave of creation, affects that which is ancestral, backwards and forwards. That is to say, what you do today affects those who will follow. The vibration that you put into the planet by what you do now literally affects the consciousness of those coming. That was the lesson of last week. It's important that you understand that you change. If you're here as an old energy worker, I will say this: you are now seeing the evolution into the new energy worker. All the things that you did have paid off. Do not resent that which you've created. And do not criticize that which you've manifested. For today the earth is different because of what you did yesterday. This entire day has been filled with teaching that my partner has given around current events. And yet there are many who are listening and reading right now who are not part of that teaching. So we give enhancements to what he has said that may or may not be understood by those who would hear and read for the first time. So we will try to make it as succinct and summarize what we can. My partner spoke of the time fractals, a system of potentials that the ancients knew of and saw, that science is now starting to measure, that would indicate that time is not in a straight line at all, but is in a circle, and that the multidimensionality of time is starting to then be measured, understood, as much as it can be with a three-dimensional system. But the potentials of what is to come is now seen as something that the past has generated and that the future expected. And here it is. What the ancients told you about is indeed taking place at the moment, and that is to say that in alignment with that which you call the precession cycle of the planet, you also have that which is a potential of human consciousness shift. Again, Gaia is involved. Don't be surprised. Even the weather is involved, which we will speak of in a moment, with up to 3 kinds of cycles of the planet. Scientists are looking at the confluence of those 3 cycles, creating that which we have called the beginning of the water cycle, the refreshing of life on the planet yet again. It's all related to the time fractal. This is a 36-year window in astronomy of the precession cycle and the 26,000-year event. the middle of which is measured on the solstice, December 21, 2012. And here is your advice, yet again, celebrate this midpoint. Celebrate the fact that you are still here. Celebrate the fact that you are not in the midst of a world war. There are many who said you would be. Many prophets of old, looking at the same things we look at, measuring the potentials of what might be, going to the other side of the veil and looking at the quantum soup of the potentials of humanity, all coming back with the same kinds of predictions, all centering around these years of the 36-year event called the Great Shift, and where you would be and what you would be doing even hundreds of years ago. Many prophets saw it coming. And they realized it could go in several directions, but the potentials at that point in time were against you surviving. This explains why there is so much prophecy that says it is the end. These indeed are the end times, it says. You look around the planet, it looks like it, doesn't it? And for those who were not here this day, I reiterate some things that my partner said in my behalf. The cycle is not what you think. This is the fifth one. Only 5 have occurred. You canceled the potential of world war. You have rebuilt the structure of the geopolitical system on the planet. You avoided the majority of dictators. You have joined together economies. And you're starting to unify instead of separate. For those within the sound of my voice or reading these pages, I tell you this, that the financial difficulties that are taking place right now in this country you call the United States is the result of pruning a system that some said was unprunable. And I echo that which my partner has said, that in a dynamic system where one affects another, you're going to have the entire system change because you decided to clean up one section. What are you going to do with it? The consciousness that follows in this country will help determine what happens next. And here it is, the acknowledgement that in the system that you have developed, consciousness plays a part. In economics, you've learned something called the accelerator. That is defined as the marginal propensity to consume. That is done by consumers. How do you feel about it? What I'm telling you is this, it's not going to get better as you sit in the corner and watch. It's going to get better as you participate. I'll leave it at that. Here's a system that depends upon the citizens at the grassroots level to create jobs for themselves. Yes, but Kryon, you haven't given us the potential. Oh, yes, I did. I just did. As we look into the quantum soup of what humans might do, and we look in here a year from now, 2 years from now, we see strength. We see solution. It does not happen fast. Not fast enough for you. That is what this time fractal has brought to you. Do you realize that the financial difficulties you're having now is a direct result of what the Mayans said could happen? All those hundreds of years ago, they knew what you were going to do. Do you have the courage to congratulate yourself for the recession? We've said it again. Do you have that which is possible? Can you stand on the hillside and say, thank God we're going through this? These are the shifts and the changes that the prophets did not see. We'll speak of that in just a moment as well. The weather will continue to change and shift. Some of it will appear to get worse. Record temperature shifts. Too much heat, too much cold. The heat is melting partially the ice caps on target, on schedule, creating a shift of weight on the crust, creating volcanoes, earthquakes, crust trauma. And here's the invitation yet again. Clear. It is a cycle, predictable, understandable, and we invite the scientists to go check it. Look at the ice cores. Look at the rings of the trees. Look where you have to look, and you will find this has happened before. Do not fear these things, which are cycles of the planet that occur naturally through Gaia's involvement with human consciousness. They are here yet again. They will refresh the oceans, create new paradigms of that which we say is the essence of why life exists and how it grows. All comes from the ocean, and you know that. It must be refreshed. That you may not have known. Life processes stagnate over hundreds of years, must be refreshed. The ice caps are the answer. Eventually, it will settle into a time of cooling. It has happened before. Humans have been here. Humans have survived. It is slow. You can get out of the way. There'll be more ice than you've ever seen before in your lifetime. Now, that is difficult to talk about. When you sit in an audience where outside it's very hot. It's a cooling cycle on the planet. The storms will be reactive to a cooling ocean. All the things that the meteorologists have seen in the past, the cycles are starting to change. All on schedule. Let me ask you a question. Does it make sense that God would refresh the life-producing cycle of this planet if you were all going to die in a few years? It would not. All of these things exist to feed you. All of these things exist for abundance in the ocean, for the eventuality over 2 more generations of a revitalized ocean with plenty of fish. Things that you didn't expect to come to life. Let this be a prediction that you will see these things, some of you in your lifetime, but your children will. And let some of them listen to this and read these things and realize that there is a system perhaps they did not understand or know about that is benevolent, that loves humanity, that is part of the creative energy of the universe. It's here. It's about how Spirit feels with you. It's about the love of God. Go through these shifts. One of the largest shifts in humanity is taking place in consciousness. And that's what we'll talk about next. Some have called it the Great Shift, and you're seeing that which we call the wild cards appear, and there's going to be more of them. I'll explain that in a moment. If you wish to accelerate the shift, you will get on with the obvious on how to create your electricity. Kryon, you sound like a repeating record. You need to hear it again. Have you not seen the folly of an extremely expensive steam engine called nuclear. It'll work, and you can make it semi-safe if you want to spend more money. But there are other ways of creating power. What about the steam engine using the heat of the planet, which is under your feet? If you were to spend a fraction of what you are spending on your nuclear machines, on the research to get the heat out of the ground, to boil the water, to create the plants, you would find you could do it. Using Gaia as it was designed to be used by humanity. And you don't have to boil water. And we have told you this before. There are exotic substances that will boil far, far cooler than water, creating the steam you need with the pistons and those things that are the machines that you use to create electricity. You don't have to be over a hotspot. You can do it almost anywhere. I challenge those of mechanical minds to get on with this, to show it can be done, and to look at the cost of it, for you're going to find it's less costly than nuclear, and there is no substance to eliminate. And if it gets destroyed by a tsunami, it's just water. No danger. And the second thing I'll repeat is the hundreds of thousands of tons of push-pull energy given to you by the oceans and the seas that you're not using, sitting there seemingly going to waste. Hydropower. It's all around you, and you're not using it. Now here's a hint to the scientists. Why do you continually overcomplicate everything? You want to make exotic propellers underwater to capture the tides, not even thinking of a simple solution as easy as a paddle wheel on top. Simplify your thinking. Create that which will work for you, which will turn the wheels over and over and over for an infinity of time, creating free electricity. All you have to do is build the machine. Let it turn. Doesn't have to be computer controlled. Doesn't have to be exotic. Won't have to have underwater materials with submersibles to serve it. Think simple. It's going to happen. It has to happen. It's the next step. There will be those who hear my voice and do not hear my voice, who never read this, who will do it. For it's going to happen intuitively all over the globe as part of a consciousness shift. Invention consciousness is not new. If you take a look at the greatest inventions you've ever had, some of the simplest things that you now take for granted, the invention of the telephone, of the radio, of the light bulb, of flight. Did you know that there were many inventors working on the same thing at the same time? Up to 5 or 6 simultaneously. They didn't even know each other. It's something that happens on the planet. When it's supposed to happen, the ideas are given. And the consciousness is whoever can reach it first wins the prize. So let it be that you would have an earth engine. Ways to boil water inexpensively, without much digging, creating beautiful steam engines that will even rival the power that you can get from nuclear. Completely and totally safe. Using the ocean, finally, to move that which is on the surface, if you wish, which can be serviced on the surface, if you wish, without exotics, without the major expense that some feel is there. To power your cities. The Great Shift will create new inventions like that. The Great Shift will finally give you that which is the conversion of salt water to fresh through nanotechnology. We have given you that in the past. It is being done now. There are those who are getting these inventions. They take a while. Look for it. It will solve the drinking water problem on the planet completely. Real-time exchange. In goes salt water, out comes fresh water at the same velocity. You need these things. You need these things in order to live longer. You need these things to build your civilization stronger. It's what a peaceful earth is going to become. There'll be no arguments over power, over water. No wars are going to be fought over power, over water. As in the past, when you needed oil, there were the haves, the have-nots. There still are. And you're not going to need the oil as much. This is what new consciousness brings, and this is where it's going, I am telling you. There are wild cards coming your way. Wild card is described and defined as that which occurs on the planet, which everyone can see, that is normally geopolitical, which no one ever expected, ever. Example which we have spoken of in the past is the fall of one of the largest economies and systems you have ever witnessed, called the Soviet Union. Total and complete collapse almost overnight, without war. The wild card. What you didn't expect. What's the greatest problem on earth right now when it comes to hatred? When it comes to old energy? Where is it? And you would all say it has to be in the Middle East. The last bastion of the oldest energy on the planet. A consciousness that literally festers and teaches hate. As soon as the children are born on either side, they learn who their enemy is, who did what to whom, and how they should get revenge. To this day it is taught. Except now, they're trying to force it down the minds of a new consciousness. A younger generation that does not see it anymore as the older generation does. A younger generation that is not believing it. Slowly they are rebelling against it, and you're seeing it in the news. Through the Middle East, they are starting to awaken. They want economies like you have. They want safety in their streets, they want schools and hospitals, they want good health care. And here's what my partner told you that I have said before. And they don't want war with Israel. That's not on their wish list. And now we'll give you the wild card yet again. You need to hear it yet again, and there will be those who hear it and read it who know exactly where I'm going with this. The reestablishment of the glory that was Persia. The dynamics of respect that was Persia. Do your history. See the influence that they used to have. And today, they're the pariah of the world. Now that is ripe for a wild card. For everybody thinks one thing is going to happen over there. And there are bombs all ready for it, too. They may even use a few. Don't be shocked, for it might be the catalyst for the change. The country called Iran is overwhelmingly young. And the revolution that potentially will occur there will be more than just a revolution. there will be eventually a consensus. The best way to reestablish respect in the world, to open the borders for trade, to be seen as a benevolent Islamic nation, is for them to reestablish what the prophet told them. The prophet went into the cave, and the angel gave the information to unify the tribes of Arabia and give them the God of Israel. This is the way it occurred. This is the way it is written, even in their history. It is the love of God that Muhammad taught. It is what all of those who study the words know. It is time to rejuvenate that, to manifest that. And they have such an opportunity to be the ones to broker peace in Israel. To see the Palestinians as they do themselves, as Islamic brothers. To put forth a plan where within 20 years they won't remember that Israel was the enemy any more than you in the United States think of Japan as the enemy. It can change. And consciousness is what changes it. And trade and understanding. And yes, there will be a generation that doesn't get along, and they may not like each other, but they know how to plant the seeds of greatness. And that part of the world, the wild card can take place, and you will see the beginning of the unsolvable becoming reality. Just like the Cold War went away overnight. There are those reading this right now in 20 years. I see you there. The potentials are unknown. The reality is unknown. But I can see you smiling. And knowing this is where it's going. Oh, dear one, this happens slowly. Sometimes you go backwards before you go forwards. Sometimes there's an unscheduled revolution. It's what humans do. There's always the old energy pushback. And there always will be, until it diminishes and diminishes and diminishes. And as my partner says, in 200 years, you may look back on who was here and say, that was barbaric. That's the potential of the planet. And I'll say it, if you should get there, if you should get there, it'll be because you have Pleiadian in your DNA. But this is what they taught, and this is what they gave you, and this is the benevolence of their teaching, which is part of you. They are your ancestors. And we have taught that before. See it at what it is and celebrate it daily. Imagine others in the other part of the universe that you can even see the light from know who you are. Have planted seeds of benevolence for you, all part of a universal scheme of solution. With free choice, you have elected to make massive changes in this called the Great Shift, against all odds, against all the prophecy, right up to the last minute, and here you are sitting in it. I wouldn't tell you these things if they were not true, if they were not happening. Kryon, you said that there's changes in our DNA. How come it cannot be seen by the scientists? And I will tell you the answer, yes, there is changes in your DNA. Massive changes. It's happening in the 90%, which is not then seeable, notatable through chemistry. Information, that is to say data, which is in that part of the DNA which we call quantum, which is not really quantum, but what we would call a semi-state of quantumness, that you haven't identified yet that is in biology. Biology has its own kind of quantumness. All science wants to say it is part of the quantum state they see in atomic structure, which they study in the theory, which they call the string. And it isn't. It has its own kind of physics. Biology is different. True, it's all made up from atoms. But when they cluster together in a confluence of energy, which is life, they change their attributes. And yes, they're quantum. All is that to say that your DNA is changing in ways you cannot measure under the microscope. Can you see it in any other way? Look at the consciousness on earth. Look at the children that are coming in. Look at what is changing with the young people. Look at the way revolutions are being handled. There are 2 dictators about to fall, dear one. Perhaps even before you hear this channeling. That is how ripe this is. You're making shifts and changes on this planet quickly. No wonder some of you are so startled. There has never been a cleanup like this in the history of humanity. It comes with prices. The storms create death. Revolutions create death. And that is the human being who is not intuitive enough to move where they should go. That is it in a nutshell. If you're in touch with your intuition, you can feel it coming. You'll know what to do. If you don't believe anything that's going on here in this chair, you won't. There is so much to tell you about the potentials in these next years of what truly might happen and might exist. The wild cards are more than just 1 or 2. You can accelerate all of these things through invention, through consciousness. You're starting to actually verify in your own reality the things we're teaching. If they don't work, then they're not valid, are they? So why not test them? Why not find out what happens when you get in touch with that part of yourself we have called the higher self? Do you change? Do those around you change? Can you manifest better? The answer is yes. There are those who sit in this audience that know that this is the reality. Manifestation starts to occur. What does this do? Your anxiety levels start to diminish. You're not afraid anymore. You start to wake up in thankfulness, not in fear. Isn't it about time? I know who's here. I know who's listening. I know who's reading. Isn't it about time when you open your eyes in the morning for the first time, you can say, thank God that I know who I am. Thank you, Spirit, for being my partner and my family. Thank God I'm on earth at this time in my life. Your DNA, as it shifts and changes, makes a difference to who follows. It's inherited. And it's not inherited necessarily by your own biology, and this is what we taught last week. And again, as a review, everything the light worker does goes into this planet in a way that is esoteric, energetic, literally quantum, multidimensional. It affects that which we call the cave of creation, which is the collection of souls that will be here, have been here, and are here. Therefore, that energy affects all of the ones to come. That means what you do here is planting seeds for your ancestors of all races and creeds, all colors, as far away as Africa. And you'll see the children start to change there too. Maybe not in your lifetime, but coming soon. Making a difference, making changes. Becoming more healthy. And someday, that's the next big wild card. Africa. To be one of the biggest economies the planet's ever seen. Outshining China. China has something we have told you about before that they cannot overcome easily, and that is history. Difficult for them to rewrite that which they know. For thousands of years, the Africans are starting from scratch. New consciousness children will do no consciousness things. They may even be one of the only continents in the world to be powered only by geothermal and ocean. Watch for this. It's coming. Did I say the end of the world is at hand? No. Did I say that the earth is going to be hit by a meteor and a comet so greatly that it's the end? No. Did I tell you that the masters of the past would all come back and sweep through the planet and pick souls and the rest would be left behind? No. Do you know why that's not going to happen? Let me tell you, because they're all back already. They're in the crystalline grid. That's the consciousness that you're emulating. That is the new energy here. That's what old souls are feeling. And that's why you're awakening and sitting in the chairs that you are and coming to these meetings. Unsolicited. Feeling you have to be here. To hear what you already know about what you're doing. These are the truths of the day. There's more I have not spoken of. Potentials all. Be wary of the soothsayers. For this energy that you see will create many issues that they will point to and say, it is the end. Or you wouldn't have this or that happen. Start understanding as things change, there may be some things that you don't want to happen that happen. The disappearance of species would be one, both ocean and land. Their time is up. Let them go. Did you hear that? It is appropriate in the scheme of things. It is how Gaia works, and there will be new ones in their place. Bless them and let them go. Do not spend your time trying to save them which are unsavable. You're going to see a change in the whales. They're going to start. Oh, be careful, partner. They carry your Akashic record. You knew that. They are the life system. They are the backup for the cave of creation. They are part of the balance where a living species must carry that which the earth carries. It is the bridge between that which is mammalian and that which is Gaia-esque. And if you are changing, and if Gaia changes, they will change. And let me tell you what that change will be. They're going to start to recognize you more. They're going to start to recognize you more. You're going to see how this works. In the future, I won't tell you anymore. You sit in a grand moment of change, of difficulty, of challenge, and a puzzle which changes daily. And we told you all about it 22 years ago. And here you sit at the cusp of the midpoint of the alignment. I celebrate the old souls in the room who are discovering the love of God in themselves. Now, earlier in the day, I gave an invitation to those who were not believers. And I said to you, What have you got to lose? I ask you to open your hearts for 5 hours. And if it didn't resound to you, you can close them up again. And so here's the invitation to close it up. Walk out unaffected. I dare you. For you've been touched today. Not by my partner, not by me, but the truth of who you are. The truth of who you are. Old soul, eternal, match bearer. You're part of the solution. Whether you think so or not, take these things and do with them as you will. And so it is that this day, the truth has been spoken, the potential's given. As this generation of old souls echoes that which was in Lemuria. So long ago, the plan to eventually create and populate this planet with countries at peace. Let it be. It will start here and end here. For you will come back and continue the process until it is complete. That is who is here. That is who is listening and who's reading. And so it is.